Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Workforce Wednesday. I'm going to begin by going over the housekeeping side. So welcome to Workforce Wednesday. And today's topic is introducing the new mytexascareers.com. We have Jasmine Grabowski and Victoria Hinojosa from the Gulf Coast Workforce Solutions. I hope I got that right. Today is June 16th, and my name is Olga Escamilla, and I'm going to be your host and technical support. So thank you for joining me. And at this time, I want to welcome our presenters. I want to welcome Jasmine Grabowski. Jasmine is passionate about serving others. She has a background in teaching and recently served with the Summer Earn to Learn program. That's a youth program. She's a graduate of Texas State University with a BA in German and earned a job coach certification from the University of North Texas Workplace Inclusion and Sustainable Employment Program in 2019. Her goal is to continue supporting her community by helping adults and students reach their fullest potential. So welcome, Jasmine. We also have our presenter, Victoria Hinojosa, and Victoria specializes in training and educating community partners, workforce solution staff, and job seekers throughout her 13-county region, or the 13-county region. She served over 8 years at the Texas State University Career Center as a recruiting coordinator, preparing college students for workforce. And she is a graduate of Texas State University with a BA in mass communication. So welcome, Victoria. So without further ado, I want to welcome our presenters.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here today. And thank you, Olga, for that introduction. Okay, so welcome, everyone. I'm Victoria Hinojosa, and with me is Jasmine Grabowski, as Olga mentioned a minute ago. And we are really excited to present to you teaching students how to navigate the new mytexascareer.com. So before we get started, I've got a few questions for you. Let's start off with number one. How many of you have a Work in Texas account? You could just type in yes or no in the chat for us so we can see that. And Olga, you're going to monitor chat for us, right?
Yes, ma'am. And I do. And we have yes, yes. Kelly says no. Kelly, There's another Kelly that says yes. So we have some yeses and nos.
Okay. I see it lighten up. So keep going.
Yes, no. All right.
Fantastic. So by the way, I'm planning this to be a very interactive webinar. So we have a lot of questions for you, and I hope that you'll respond, because I know the topic can be a little dry. So we're trying to spice it up for everybody, keep you engaged. Okay, so question number two. Those of you who have a Work in Texas account, do you find it easy or confusing? Okay, I see lots of action going on there.
Yeah, there's confusing. I said confusing now. It didn't used to be this confusing. Brian says it's easy. And Michelle and Jody and Kelly, confusing. So we got a lot of confusions.
Yay!
A lot of confusing.
I'm glad you're confused, because I hope to dispel your confusion today. So, and I expect you guys to ask questions because we want to dispel the confusion. Okay, so now then, let me ask you this question. Have you tried the new mytexascareer.com interface?
No. Jody says yes. We have a lot of no's. Vonda says yes.
Okay.
A lot of no's. That's good.
That's good. It means you're going to learn something today. Yay. All right. So here's what we're hoping that you take away from our presentation today. We're going to provide you with some tips to help your students register and navigate the new mytexascareer.com website or interface. We're going to go over the essentials, what's really important, and then we're going to blow your mind with some of the added features. And while we go through the presentation, we're going to test your knowledge on Texas history just to make it fun. So let's get started. All right. This is the new mytexascareer.com interface. And this application offers job seekers immediate and continuous access to job matching services. So you can use your Work in Texas login to access My Texas Career, or you can just register, click there to register, or just sign in if you already have an account. So we've created our own demo account, and this is for our job seeker, Texas Rivers. And here's the password. So you are welcome to log in on using our account, or You also have the ability to log in as a guest in mytexascareer.com. So option one is where you would just log in if you already have an account, or if you want to use your Work in Texas login credentials, you can use that right here as well. Option two is for anyone who just wants to log in as a guest. And then down at the bottom is option three, which is create a user account. So we're going to show you what that looks like. So if you are a first-time user, don't have your own account yet, so you would instruct people to go through option three, click on individual, and then that's going to lead you to different options on how to register. It's the best way to just get started and to start exploring the website is just do the quick registration. It's going to ask you for just minimal amounts of information just to get you going. And there are plenty of ways in which you can fill in more information into the system so that the system will be able to work better for you. And that's why Work in Texas was just so, what do we say, heavy, seemed so convoluted, because it took forever to get through the registration process, because it asked you to complete the entire profile process in the beginning, whereas now just give it the minimal information and then you can just get going immediately. So I think that's a big plus. All right, so we click on quick registration, we follow the prompts, and then voila, we are registered. We have our profile. And so once you completed your profile, you completed the registration process, you can view your personal profile, your contact information, and then there's some things up here that you can look at. So there's about 4 tabs up here. It's the dashboard, which is what we're seeing. And then we also have the how we can help you, which is a webinar all on its own, because we tried to give that information today and realized, nah, we're not gonna be able to do that. So that is lots of information there that streamlines services in a different way. Then we have the directory of services, so basically your table of contents. And then the last one is the my resources. And that tab has a lot of, it just basically shows your information, the stuff that you've placed into your own profile. Okay, so any questions so far? Do we have any questions so far?
None so far.
Well, good, because I have a question for you. So when is Texas Independence Day? Is it March 2nd or is it April 21st? What do you think?
March ? Says Kelly. March 2nd, says Jody. Anybody else?
Anybody else? Come on, guys.
Anyone?
Take a guess. Take a gander.
Anyone? March 2nd, says Vonda. Okay. All right. Come, Victoria, I don't know if you want to keep going. We're getting March.
Well,
People say March.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'm happy to report that you're right. March 2nd is Texas Independence Day. Well done. Anybody know what April 21st is? Why is that a significant date in Texas history?
Michelle Baronos.
What did she say?
No, I'm just kidding. Because it's Fiesta in San Antonio.
Well, that's exactly
normally
right.
In March.
No, in April, you're absolutely right. It is Fiesta, but why do we celebrate Fiesta in April?
Oh, Jody says, remember the Alamo.
Nope. Wrong one.
Okay, sorry.
But you're close. Wrong one. It's San Jacinto Day, guys. That's the Battle of San Jacinto. That's what won the war. That's why they celebrate Fiesta in late April.
So Andy Gonzalez had said Jacinto. Okay, so there is a question. So students will no longer use Work in Texas and will use this instead?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it's an easier, and you'll find that it's easier to maneuver through, and easier to navigate. And we're about to get into that. So in fact, Jasmine is I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jasmine, and she's going to start leading us through the quick menu.
Yes, thank you, Victoria. All right, so we are going to talk about the quick menu. So that can be located under my portfolio, under my individual profiles. And what it does, it allows users to select from the following 3 categories. And those are Job Search, Resume Builder, and My Portfolio. And we are going to get into that section a little bit more on the next slide. So once you're under My Portfolio, well, first let's talk about how to get there. So you're going to click on Menu in the top left corner to access the menu bar. And then under Quick Menu, you're going to select My Portfolio. And then under My Individual Profiles, you'll select Self-Assessment Profile. All right. Next is Skills and Preferences. So job skills, personal skills, and tools and technology. Those categories allow job seekers to select by that category. Yeah, select by category, sorry, the skills and technology that they need to use to perform those jobs. And in addition to that, job seekers can use their selected skills to search for those occupations, the ones that they're interested in, and jobs that require those skills by clicking on Find Matching Occupation and Jobs. And Victoria is showing you guys on the screen how to get there. All right. Okay. So next up is job skills. So here we're showing you the job skill categories that job seekers can select from. And this is for our demonstration purposes for Texas Rivers. So we named them Texas Rivers. And you can see that Mr. Rivers has 28 skills under the general skills right there with the arrow. Then he has 67 under healthcare, 12 under services and sales, and finally 14 under management and office services. So this is a great example of the job skill category screen. Okay.
Yeah, and whatever is not filled out is, whatever has a 0 means that Mr. Rivers didn't fill that out, or he doesn't have skills in those areas.
Right. Next, we're going to talk about personal skills. So we're going to take a look at that tab. And so here you can see there are 6 categories that job seekers can explore from. Those are the basic skills, complex problem-solving skills, resource management skills, social and system, as well as technical skills. And what your students can do here is they can use their selected skills to search for occupations and jobs in the system that require those particular skills by clicking the Find Matching Occupations and Job button. And again, that's located right there at the bottom. So our next topic is tools and technology. So the tools and technology tab is another option that job seekers can select from. And what it does is here you can list the technology and work tools that your students may know to use for their job that they are pursuing. And job seekers can make their selections either by keyword, they can do it by occupation group, job listing, education program. They can even do it by military specialty, which I thought was really neat because I do have a lot of family members that are in the military or have been in the military. They can search by occupation code and finally by license. Once again, job seekers can click on that Find Matching Occupation and Jobs button, and they'll receive a list of occupations that match their saved tools and technologies. And they can also filter these results by selecting an occupation that, on how closely they want the match to be. So pretty neat stuff. We have another poll question for you guys. And the poll question is, who was the first Anglo-American to receive permission to settle people in Texas, but died before he got the chance? Stephen F. Austin or Moses Austin? No idea.
Jody says no idea. That's
yeah.
right.
No worries.
Andy says Stephen F.
Okay.
Austin. Kelly just says Mr. Austin because they're both Austin. Yeah.
That's smart.
Yay.
That's a good
Michelle Smith says Stephen F. Glenda Stephen F. Austin. So we're getting some question marks. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so it's actually Moses Austin, his father. I actually got this wrong. I thought it was Stephen F. Austin. So his father is Moses, and so he was actually the one who gave who received permission to settle people in Texas, but died before he got a chance. Okay. we're going to get into our next topic, and that is the Work Values Analyzer. This is also a pretty neat feature that's in the My Texas Career. So the Work Values Analyzer, so what it does, it enables job seekers to evaluate what is important to them in a job by asking them to rank different aspects of work that represent 6 important work values. And those are achievement, independence, recognition, relationship, support, and working conditions. So basically they would pick which one is most important and then rank them. And so what's going to happen is the participants will be asked to rank 20 cards from the most important to the least important. And once they've done that, they'll receive a score and will be able to learn about each of these 6 work values. Also, they'll receive a list of occupations that match their work values. And then by clicking on the occupation titled, participants can also view labor market information about each occupation. Okay, and then on the left-hand column, they can view the number of positions available for those occupations in their area. I'm sorry, right-hand column, they can view those occupations available for the area. And finally, understanding one's own work values helps students decide what kind of jobs and careers they may want to explore. So it is important for them to look at their work values, what's important to them.
You know, this makes a great exercise. I know when we from the Workforce Solutions regional team in the Houston Galveston area get invited to come out to classrooms to teach or to facilitate presentations, we use in one of our modules, we do a little career exploration, and we do this work values. That's the very first exercise that, it's the second exercise that we do in that unit. And it's really helpful for people to understand their work values. And I think this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's better than the format that we typically use in our classes. So I would really strongly recommend using this to get them start thinking about what's important to them, you know, what's going to make them happy in a job. It's a great exercise that you can use in the classroom. Okay, well, that's my 2 cents worth. Sorry about that, Jasmine.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, I think that was a great comment to add to this category, the Work Interest Analyzer. And we're going to get into this a little bit more. So in addition to that, the Work Interest Analyzer is actually one of our favorite features in My Texas Career. So many of your students may be needing assistance with figuring out what to do professionally. And this assessment tool can greatly assist GED students and also ITP, internationally trained professionals, to explore different career paths. We recommend taking the short form, that 60 question format. And once they're finished, students can view their score report to learn about different work interest categories, and then they can explore their occupations. And then right there, Victoria is showing you guys the view score report with the arrow there. And then here is an example of the actual report. It's pretty neat.
And I think they can click on these hyperlinks to learn more about the different interest areas. So it gets into a little more information about what realistic means: investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. And then what's cool is that, you know, obviously we all usually have a combination of these things. And so you get your combination results, and it's usually the 3 highest. So in this case, for Mr. Rivers, it's going to be social is his highest, and then conventional, and then investigative. So he is an SCI. Those are his rankings. So what does that? No, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It's an SCE. My bad, SCE. So what does that mean? So let's find out.
So will they be able to print this, or is this just available in their account? Like they can go back to it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we go back to this a lot. So it's always there until you retake it.
Okay.
And I think there might be a way to print it out, but if you're familiar with My Next Move or O-Net online, it's the exact same test that's offered through O-Net. So it's the same thing. So you can actually take it and own it and plug your numbers, your score numbers here. I think you can, at least you could at one point. And then from, or on the previous page, let me go back one, you can see it. Yeah, I think you might be able to plug it in here and then calculate it, because what comes up next is not something that is available in ONET or My Next Move, and that's this screen. So Jasmine, tell us about this screen.
Okay, yes. So now we're on the assessment results. So here, Victoria is showing us an example for Texas Rivers, and these are the possible occupations listed in alphabetical order. And what it does, it ranks it from the strongest match to the weakest one. And then right here, she's showing us on the far right column how many job openings are currently available in Harris County. So that's pretty neat. Also, if you want, you can have your students research the demand for these occupations in other counties or cities. You can click on the location hyperlink in the top left corner and then follow the prompts. Also, to learn about any of the listed occupations, you can click on the occupation hyperlinks. And for this example, let's click on licensed practical and licensed vocational nurses. It's very beneficial. So definitely something for your students to explore. All right, so hope you're still with us. Next up is occupation labor market information. So here we are on that labor market information page. And this is a great opportunity to explain labor market information, also known as LMI. And you can share with your students how to utilize it in career exploration and also the job search process. So notice we can explore this occupation by viewing a short video, checking out the average and annual wages, required skills, tools and technology, education and training requirements, and top hiring employers and more. And from this one assessment, your students have the tools and insight needed to map out their own targeted education and career plan.
And this information is all relevant to Texas, correct?
Yes, but it's also, well, and specify to the area in which they live in. So yes, it says Texas over here. I'm sorry, Jasmine.
Oh no, that's okay.
But it's but it can be, I think it's relevant to, it should
Like
be
their
relevant
area,
to
based
their
on the
area.
Okay.
Yes, because I've done it, like we said before, you can change that information and it'll show you, you know what, I'm wrong. This information is based on the state. The labor market information is statewide, but the job exploration part, the actual number of job opportunities can be localized to your area. And that's what she was demonstrating on the previous page.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So if you wanted to move, your students were interested in relocating,
they can pick whatever area. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. All right. So we're going to move on. We have another poll question for the audience. So the question is, who is considered by many to be the father of Texas education? We have Sam Houston, Mirabeau B. Lamar, William B. Travis, or Stephen F. Austin.
Okay, we have a Lamar, says Jody, Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston. We have a couple of Lamars, another Lamar. Lamar says Brian. Stephen F. Austin. Maria says Lamar. All right.
Okay. Well, if you said Lamar, then you were correct. That's the right answer. All right. So now I am going to turn it back over to my colleague, Victoria, and she is going to go over Resume Builder with you guys.
All right. Thank you. Well, hey, well done. A lot of people know their Texas history. I'm impressed. Okay, so let's talk about the Resume Builder. This feature's been augmented since the last time we explored the website. So I'm pretty excited to show you this one. Okay, so again, to access it, you're going to go click on menu, and then on the bar under quick menu, look for Resume Builder. And there's about 6 other tabs listed on this page, but we're going to start off with resumes, and then we'll take a look at what some of these other tabs a little bit later. one thing to note is that you could see down here that we have some thumbnails of some resumes that Mr. Rivers has already created and saved onto his profile. But at the same time, know that you can save up to 10 resumes on your profile. So that's pretty exciting. And then to create a new resume, all you got to do is click on create new resume and the wizard will begin. Then once you go through that process, you can see that the thumbnails are the saved resumes. And then this little gear icon that the arrow is pointing to allows you to access to the resume so you can do different things with it. So for example, you can use it to do a job search. And so search for jobs based on your resume. That's another function or feature within the job search that we'll get into a little bit later. You can also score your resume. So you know how most of us, once we create our resume, we ask for someone to edit it and look over it. Well, the computer will do it for you. And we'll talk about that in a second. You can also copy your resume. So if you wanted to have a general resume that you use as the basis, and then you copy it so you can edit it to fit whatever job someone you're applying for, you can do that. Then you have the edit button, and of course you can delete. So we're going to look at all the different features under edit because there's some really fun things there too. So let's get into that one. So here you see, here is Texas Rivers resume, and this is a chronological template, and the system actually offers not only chronological, but it also offers the functional resume template, which I thought was really cool because you rarely see that. And then over here on the right, we have those same functions that we saw a minute ago. So you can click on here to copy your resume, you can print it, you can email it from here, you can download it. And then over here is where you can edit your template options. So this is really nice. And this is an added bonus because I don't know if you guys remember the resume templates that we've seen in other job databases, but they don't look as nice as this. And they didn't have the feature that you have now where you can actually move things around. So you can reorder these categories. You can pick which categories you want to display. And then you can actually click on these different sections and format them. You can also edit them individually. You can add more information. You can do spell check. You could do a lot in this area. So, and then over here, up in the top left corner, where my red arrow is, there's this little yellow kind of warning sign. So this is how you can score your resume. And if you click on this, it'll tell you what's wrong with it. So according to the way it is right now, we're getting a 61 on our resume. So it's kind of a D resume, which isn't good. So what we could do from here is go into read what needs to be improved and then go back into it and edit it. And I did actually spend some time editing our resume, and I got it up to a 79, so to a C+. So I was excited about that. But there's other things that you can do, and it shows you, and then it shows you the good things that you're doing and what, obviously what you need to improve on. So really nice feature, especially when you're dealing with students who've never created a resume or have never created an American resume. So awesome. I really like this function. Does anybody have any questions for me right now regarding what we've gone over so far?
I don't see anything yet, but we'll give, if you want to give a little bit of type. Right?
Well,
No. Okay. Jody says, is this available in other languages?
I know that the system does translate to Spanish. I have not explored to see how extensive, if it's a full translation into Spanish, but I know you can work in Texas in Spanish. My concern is sometimes it doesn't fully translate over. So I'm sorry that I haven't explored that yet, but that's a darn good question. But that's the only language that I know that it translates into at the moment. So excellent question. Any more questions?
No, she says, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I got a question for you guys. So tell me, Who was the first known European to set foot in Texas? Was it LaSalle? Was it Alonso Alvarez de Pineda? Was it Cabeza de Vaca? Or was it Coronado? What do you think?
Google does a pretty good job. Oh.
Come on, guys, use your head.
Andy, so Brian, I'm not sure if you're talking about that or the resume, but okay. So Andy says Coronado. Kelly says Pineda. Jody says LaSalle. Glenna says Alonso. So, Brian was talking about the resume, not the response to the question. Thank you, Brian. I love that. All right, so we got an array of answers, like one of each. Well,
One
you
of
know
each.
what? No, we didn't. We didn't get Cabeza de Vaca. Cabeza de Vaca. We didn't get that one. So everybody said LaSalle, Alonso, Pineda, and Coronado. So no. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, the answer is Cabeza de Vaca. He was the first European to come to actually step foot in Texas. LaSalle came later, and then Pineda was the missionary who developed all the missions in Texas. So good job. And I'm not sure who Coronado is. He was probably another conquistador that came at some point. Is the only one I don't know. But good job. Okay. So let's get into the letter wizard or cover letter wizard. So back on that same page that we showed you earlier, if you click down here at the very bottom of the screen where my arrow is, you have the cover letter button. So we'll go through this real quickly. So obviously we don't have any cover letters for Mr. Rivers, but we'll create one. So here we go. Create a new cover letter. So this top information is like a normal business letter. It's the recipient information. And then down here is where the body of the letter will be. So we'll begin with the recipient information. So he's going to write a cover letter. He's applying for a job at Memorial Hermann in Memorial City. Then down here at the bottom, you can click on Insert Template, and then this little screen comes up. So this gives you an opportunity to choose what kind of letter you want to do. Do you want to do a cover letter? Do you want to do a job acceptance letter? Or do you want to do a follow-up letter or a thank you letter? You have that option here. And so you can preview it or you can select. So we're going to go ahead and select cover letter for this example. And then, of course, you want to name the cover letter so you have easy access to it. That information, that the address information will populate once we're finished with creating the body of the letter. So I like this because it's a way to get started, because sometimes starting these cover letters is just always difficult. So the template just helps you get started, and then you can gives people a point to jumpstart, and then they can edit it as they need to. Then down at the bottom, there is this insert action words. So this is exciting because now what you can do is you have a whole list of action words. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can click on these because they're hyperlinked. Either that gives you the definition. I'm sorry, I haven't done this. Either it's going to insert it for you or it's going to just give you the definition so you understand what it means. But you have all these different categories: the communication and people skills, creative skills, the data or financial skills, helping, management, leadership. There's more categories. So whatever wasn't covered before, you can gain there. Organizational skills, research, teaching, and technical skills. So I thought this was brilliant. I was so excited when I saw this. This is something that you can use with your students, not only to create letters, but help them in developing their resumes when they're writing those bullet point statements. So fantastic resource right here. And then lastly, when you're done, that's what it looks like. And there's our finished product. So, and then of course it's saved to the profile and it can be used and edited and sent off to a different employer later. Any questions or comments?
Well, Texas is using your email address, but I'm just sorry.
I tried to fix that. Oh, well, okay. He's my alias. Okay, sorry.
So Kelly says neat. And this is really a great feature because this is one of the things that we could teach in the Incorporating Workplace Skills, and it's already here. It's already built. They just have to go in and click and add. This is great.
Yeah, and then you as the instructor can then come back and help them to improve their basic letter. So, maybe change the introduction, get rid of some of the I's and just become creative on how to make it more professional sounding. So yeah, but it's a great basis just to get people started, which is always the hardest part. And showing them the structure of what's important in a cover letter, because most people don't really understand this concept. So very good. Okay, so then now let's go back to this page and we're going to take a look at online applications. So one thing that you can do is you can go back and do the background wizard, and that will populate, again, it will give more information, put more information into your profile, which helps with the job search process, but it also will then create your own online application. So this has been self-populated based on all the background information that we did when either through the wizard or when we just created the resume. And Jasmine, you're the one that actually put this, created Texas River's profile. So do you recall, did you do the background wizard, or was this just, do you think this is based off of the resume information? Because that in itself is a background wizard too.
Right. It was just based off of the resume information. I know it was a few months ago I did it, but yeah, I mean, either way will be beneficial.
Okay, so even if they don't do the background wizard, I think that just by going through the resume wizard, it puts a lot of this information into their profile. And then here they can then see it as an online application. So the more the information they put in this, and again, the other thing that we like to teach our students in the Gulf Coast region is that we show them the difference between a resume and an online application. And this is a legal document, and it states it on the website too, that this information, once you sign it, it becomes a legal document, which is also very important to stress. But the other beauty about this is now they have an online application that's going to record all their previous work history, so that every time they go to fill out an application, they can refer back to this online application, or maybe they can send this application instead. I haven't had the opportunity to explore that idea, but even still, just knowing that you have a fully filled out application with with all your work history, as much work history as you can put in there, already saved to your profile, really helps with the job search process, because then it cuts down on time that it takes to fill out every single one of those job applications, because everybody has their application online, and it is a very long, tedious process that takes a good 30 minutes to an hour depending. But if you already have it saved, then it just makes it so much easier and faster just to kind of copy and paste some of that information in there, or at least use it so you're not scrambling to remember every single time all that data that needs to go into the application. Okay, so then there's also the state application. So you can fill out the state of Texas application, save it to your profile. You can print it and fill it out and then submit it, whatever needs to be done. But the nice thing is the state application is also available through My Texas Career. So if they're looking for state jobs, this is a golden opportunity, and it's all saved right here, and they don't have to fill it out multiple times, or they don't have to remember what the login information is for their state application. They can just have it all there in one place, which really helps. Okay. Then the last thing I want to show you in this section is the virtual recruiter. So this is a nice little feature that gives you an automated job search. So to do that, once you click on virtual recruiter, then you want to click on create new job alert. And this is also what helps make this website so powerful, because you can set it up so that the site will actually search for jobs based on the criteria that you want in a job. So to do this, we're doing the keyword search. So we're doing the quick version. So we did the keyword search for registered nurse. We did it for the Houston area. And then down in the bottom under additional quick search options, we said we wanted to look at all the job postings within the last 2 days. And then we're going to hit search and see what comes up. And there we go. So this is a sampling of all the job positions, the registered nurse job positions that have shown up in the last 2 days.
Victoria.
So, yes.
So Glenda says and I remember this too, Glenda. She says, I remember in the older version, work in Texas, it wouldn't allow you to apply for certain positions based on percentages that states that you didn't qualify. Is this version
Yeah, I think it's
solely
gonna,
on what it is put on your resume or criteria?
I think it's the same problem because, and then that's why we keep stressing. And I think that's why you have all these filters over here or these, little diagrams that show you how well you match the particular position. And I guess the other thing too, is that it won't show up on your list if you're not gonna, well, actually that's not true. It's going to be sorted by by relevance. So you're absolutely right. It still has that same issue. That's why we keep stressing, or we're trying to stress that, if you do the background wizard, if you do your resume, do the resume wizard, then the system has more information. So it's going, oh, and then the other big one is those skills assessments that Jasmine showed us earlier. If you do those, then that really helps boost your compatibility ratings to those positions. So yeah, it is, all the systems do that way. So unfortunately, your compatibility or your relevance to the job posting is based on how much information is on your profile. But excellent question.
She says, makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So again, at the bottom is where you will be able to save your search. So click on the Save Search button, and then it leads you to where you actually set it up. So you can title it the search as nurse practitioner if you want, or whatever you want to call it. This shows how often you want it to run. And then you have the option, do you want these notifications to come to your personal email or to the message center that's under My Resources in your profile here, which I would recommend doing. Otherwise, a lot of times you just get inundated with email messages, but you have that option. And then you can also decide how long you want this to run. And then once you've completed that, you just click on Save at the bottom down here. And there it is. And it shows up as one of your virtual, under your virtual recruiter tab. And of course you can play with it. You can edit it if you want it to run more, or you can delete it. So you have those options there. Any more questions on the virtual recruiter or anything covered so far?
Not yet.
Oh, good, because I've got a question for you. So tell us, what officially ended the Texas Revolution and the war between Mexico and Texas? Was it the Battle of San Jacinto? Was it the treaties of Velasco? Was it Mexico's victory at the Alamo, or was it the massacre at Goliad? What do you think?
Velasco, says Jody.
Okay.
Keep them coming.
Come on, guys.
Brian says San Jacinto.
Okay.
Glenda says San Jacinto. Kelly says, I don't want to guess.
Oh, come on, Kelly.
Come on. We have quiet crickets.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay. Victory. Okay. Andy says victory at the Alamo. Yvonne says San Jacinto. Bonda says San Jacinto. Awesome. Thank you. Keep them coming. Alamo, says Jacqueline.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Well, the answer is the treaties of Velasco. So the Alamo was what really got the revolution fueled, especially the massacre at Goliad. That was another one. That's the other one that came after the Alamo, and probably is what fueled the victory at the Battle of San Jacinto. The Battle of San Jacinto is what ended it, but it was the treaties of Velasco that actually officially ended the revolution and the war between Mexico and Texas. So good job. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to job search under the quick menu, and Jasmine's going to take over from here.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, hopefully you guys are still with us and have enjoyed the poll questions that we had within the presentation. So we are gonna get into some job search. All right, So from the quick menu in Working Texas, it allows job seekers to complete an extensive job search for those searching for employment. And then in My Texas Career, you can also do the same thing. And it actually allows students to complete a job search based on likes and interests. And we're going to show you how to get there. So you'll go to the menu bar and find quick menu and then select job search. Once you're there, there are 8 search methods that you can use. And the fastest and easiest method is that quick search method because it does allow you to search by keywords and location. So for the purpose of this demonstration, Victoria and we typed in registered nurse in the keyword box, and that's indicated right there with the green arrow. And we also used the Houston area for the location box. So to narrow our search further, we went to the additional quick search options, and then we selected high school diploma or equivalent for that education level. And then finally, to view the results, you click on the search button. And as you can see, there are currently 7 customer service jobs in the Houston County area. So this is just an example that you students, again, can use from those 8 different search methods. But the quick search is probably the fastest and the easiest one. All right, so now we're going to get into job search results. So on the far left column, it rates how well your profile matches up to the general requirement. And for the general requirement, you can see the score is going to be at 67%. And that's right there in the blue. Then if you hover your cursor over the circle, it will show you a percentage rating for the skills, which is 65%, and that's indicated in green. And then finally, 100 matching for the specialized requirements, and that's in that gold. So we do recommend that users go back to the sections that they didn't score so high on and find out how they can increase their score to match their desired occupation. And finally, you do have the option of viewing the job posting, or if you want to save it later, or you can even share with a friend. So lots of neat stuff going on here. And we have another poll question for you guys out there in the audience. Where was the last battle of the American Civil War fought? Galveston, San Jacinto, Palmito Ranch, or King Ranch?
Yeah, this one stumped me. I didn't know this answer.
Oh, so they're coming in. Kelly says Galveston, Glenda says Galveston, Jacqueline says Palmito, Jody says King, Michelle says San Jacinto.
I think we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, wow. Go ahead. What's the answer? Who
Yes.
knew it was Palmito? I'm impressed someone actually knew it was Palmito because I said Galveston too.
Jacqueline and Brian.
Good job.
Awesome.
Are y'all from South Texas or from the Rio Grande area? Because that's where this is, and I had no idea. I had to look it up. But
Me
no,
neither.
Brian's a Florida boy and just fond of Google, says Jacqueline.
Yeah. Google
oh,
is-
you cheated. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Google
the
is my
power.
friend.
So Griselda said she's from South Texas, said she didn't know this. So there you go. Texas history at its finest.
There you go. Okay. And I think we have one more too.
Yes. So in Texas, it's illegal to swear in front of a what? A scarecrow or a corpse?
Corpse, says Jody. A baby. Kelly.
It should be illegal.
Corpse.
I agree with you on that one.
My mom. Buddy,
Bernetta
that's cute.
says, oh, Andy says it's illegal to. Yeah, okay. So the answer is Kelly says
Oh, the answer is corpse. So very good.
Yes, you guys are right. If you said corpse, and at this time, we are opening up the floor to any questions that you have for us. Hopefully you found everything that we talked about today helpful and beneficial. And then we do have another webinar coming up. That's going to be September the 15th. Developing Your Emotional Intelligence Superpower Part 2. So we did part 1. When did we do part 1, Victoria? It was a few months. Was it?
Oh, it was May
May have
last year.
been May last year. Yeah. So we are coming back for part 2. This was a topic that I found very interesting. So by all means, if you guys can come back, we'd love to have you participate.
Yeah, we're gonna, the focus on this webinar is how to make emotional intelligence actionable. How do you actually develop your emotional intelligence on a day-to-day basis? So the inspiration came from the Ruler method, which was developed by Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. So it's a great tool that you can use, and it can be implemented not only for yourself, but for your family, for your classroom. Hopefully it'll take over the world and teach us all how to be more emotionally intelligent. So
Thank you. No, the date is actually September 22nd.
okay, whoops. So it's the 4th Wednesday, my bad. All right, so my apologies. It's actually September 22nd. So even better.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll see you on the 22nd.
So yeah, so thank you everyone for attending our webinar today. And I hope, as Jasmine said, we hope that this really helps you, give you some really great ideas on how you can utilize mytexascareer.com in your classroom to help your students prepare for the job search, the whole entire process. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Jasmine and Victoria. We really appreciate you all joining us and sharing this information. And one other thing I wanted to say is I want to follow up on the Workforce Wednesday. We have July 21st. We have resume writing, the art of persuasion. And we have August 18th, making sense of career pathways. So that'll be provided by Andrea Shipper she's with Community Action. So join us. And then again, yes, on September 22nd, we have Victoria and Jasmine. So thank you so much, everybody. Y'all have a great afternoon. And thank you for joining us on Workforce Wednesday.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.